Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Lehman. I'm the marketing team lead at Fishbowl Solutions. I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar as we talk about using WebCenter subscriptions and notifications to help better inform employees. Happy to be joined by my colleague for this webinar, Brent General. Hey, Brent.
Hello.
Brent will be joining on a little bit later in the presentation as he'll actually be giving everyone a demo of the out-of-the-box capabilities of WebCenter and how they can be extended with Fishbowl Subscription Notifier. So before I get to the agenda, a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. I'd also like to point out that this is webinar number 3, topic number 3 in our WebCenter Tips and Tricks webinar series. All those webinars can be found on our website, right off our homepage. We've created a landing page where all those topics that we've already covered, the recordings for those webinars are there, including the demos for each one of the solutions that was part of the webinar as well. So this recording will be made available within a couple days to everyone that registered. We do encourage everyone to ask questions during the webinar. You can do that through the Zoom interface. You should see a little Q&A icon. You can type your question in there, and we have multiple people on the call today that can monitor those questions, and we will look to answer any of those questions at the conclusion of today's webinar. So here is the agenda. I'm going to get started with just a quick Fishbowl overview. We'll then move into the business problems. So the reason for having this webinar is, again, we've talked about one of the themes that we're all just living in right now is just a different work structure. A lot of us might be more working remotely, if not full-time, the majority of the time, or we're going to be returning to work soon. So there's a lot of information that you're probably seeing from your companies regarding that. Work at home policies, return to work procedures, and so there's definitely content that needs to be updated and get to the right people at the right time. So we thought this would be a timely webinar to show how WebCenter can help you do all that. The problems that we're going to uncover or initially start talking about is if you're not getting those notifications, then where are you getting your information? And if those notifications aren't being tracked in a content management system and managed there, you might be getting the wrong information. So then really moving on to out of the box, how can WebCenter help? WebCenter has subscriptions capabilities and a notification capability. How can that help? And then really with those capabilities, how can they be paired with some of Fishbowl's value-add solutions, in this case, Subscription Notifier, to really extend those capabilities to really make sure that the information is getting to the right people? And that's where I'll turn it over to Brent. So he'll go through and show you a little bit about what's out of the box, and then show you what's available and can be extended with Subscription Notifier to, again, show you some of those real-life use cases of making sure content, when it's updated, people get notified, as well as some other powerful features that the solution has to offer. Then we'll summarize and answer any questions. So again, quick overview on Fishbowl. Really our goal is and has always been to help customers solve their costly and frustrating knowledge sharing problems. And we've been doing that since 1999. And since that time, we've been working with Oracle WebCenter, focusing on enterprise content management and portal solutions to really help organizations better manage, retain, and distribute content through desktop and mobile experiences. We also help organizations leverage Oracle's Content Experience Cloud. This is really Oracle's solution for content management in the cloud, if you will, focusing really on developing omni-channel experiences for their digital content. Most recently, we've been developing mobile applications and creating chatbots or digital assistants for customer and employee service and sales enablement. And to help you find all that value-add content in your organization within WebCenter and your other repositories, we provide enterprise search software and services for both on-premise and cloud-based use cases, leveraging Mindbreeze and Google Cloud. So the problems that we wanted to start out with, kind of level setting on, there's a lot of information available in our organizations, and how are we getting that information to the right people at the right time? as I mentioned, as I was introducing the webinar, we're probably all living through a different work arrangement right now, and staying connected to information and to our colleagues is critically important right now. If we're not able to do that, especially during a time like we're living through now, you can definitely have employees that are feeling disengaged or disconnected. Really, too, because they don't feel like they're getting the information they need in a timely fashion, or they're getting bits and pieces of the information. So what we want to kind of show you today is how you can use a system like WebCenter to make sure high-value content gets out to those right people, so that they do feel more connected, they're getting timely information, and information that really impacts them in their job, as well as that company information that needs to be shared. The other thing we'll show is, as content creators and where that content is coming from, leveraging WebCenter and storing content in one, centralized repository can really help with that communication. One of the challenges is there's different content authors in an organization, obviously, and if information is stored in various locations, getting that content out to the right people using some of the system capabilities is more challenging. I think we're all familiar with emails that have attachments. I don't need to go into great detail about the problems that can cause, but really showing again the value that some of you might not know all the capabilities that WebCenter has from a subscriptions and notifications standpoint. So we're going to show you today how you can leverage some of those features to, again, the content that you have stored on WebCenter, how can it be used to notify employees and share information. So in terms of how the overall kind of capabilities of subscriptions and notifications can help, it's really allowing the users to choose what content they actually want to subscribe to, where they want, they're interested in a topic and they want to be notified and kept up to date on, when certain things change. So as new trainings or certifications become available, just one example of that, you could subscribe to content for your company's trainings, and as new ones are added, you could be notified of that. But then, like I said, really taking advantage of the capabilities of the system when it comes to some of the capabilities, features of a content management system like metadata and metadata associated with content. So administrators can use that metadata to configure more metadata-specific subscriptions and notifications based on criteria. And that could be, again, where important information is being released by your company that's authored by your president, making sure that gets to the right people too. And then proactively over time, how can you proactively be notified so you're not surprised when something is about to expire or when your contract is going to be up in a week, that over time you can be proactively notified. And also notified just based on actions of the system. So when newer updated content gets into the system, how can you be notified on that? As well as the example of more the periodic, where it might be 90, 60, and 30 days to really just give you more time to make sure you take the right steps to get that content updated if it needs to be. So I think most of you are probably familiar, just again, level setting on what's available out of the box. Brent will show some of this stuff today in the demo. But again, the example of users being able to choose the content they want to subscribe to, they can go ahead and do that. As well as the criteria, using some of that metadata that's available, administrator can configure based on that metadata that certain content can be subscribed to a group of users based on that information. And then the notification of expiration is just really that ability to let authors know that content is about to expire. So that really just, again, out of the box, just gives you that ability to know and have that visibility that this content is about to expire and you should take action. So again, that's all available out of the box. Brent will show you kind of the ways to configure that and how you can take advantage of that. But what we also wanted to help everyone understand is that those capabilities can be extended with Subscription Notifier. And Fishbowl Subscription Notifier was purposely built to really add additional value and fill some of that gaps that we thought when you're really trying to inform and get the right information out to the right people at the right time, you needed some more capabilities. And that's where Subscription Notifier comes in. And so as an overview, Subscription Notifier is a query-based email notification and scheduled job utility that enables you to have proactive content management. So Brent will show a little bit about this, but there's a subscription builder where you can create your subscriptions based on business rules in the content server, not just expiration. And then these can be scheduled to run on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis, or run without a schedule to notify users as soon as possible. You can specify different users and/or aliases to be notified, either directly by their username or by using a metadata field, email address, or IDOC script. And then other options are available to further customize some of these subscriptions, but really the core is that simple. So schedule, pick the users, build the query, and that's it. In terms of the proactive email notifications, this is where a lot of the customers that we work with really take advantage of, because they're managing policies and procedures that need more of that periodic review, because content that they're managing needs to be updated more frequently, or that they just, as their policies change, they just want to be made aware that it's reaching a certain time after the first check-in or the first author. So this will actually allow them to be notified, but then take action. So it's another powerful feature that it offers, is you're not only getting the notification, but then you can take action if necessary. But another thing Brent will show today, so just as a simple overview, is the side effects capabilities that Subscription Notifier offers. And these are triggered either once before the query executes or once for every content item. So these include actions to update metadata, delete old revisions, and Brent will show that, as well as update external databases and resubmit a content item for conversion. That's been a recent one for a lot of customers, as I think we're all familiar with that. I bolded it here because it's really frustrating when you check in an item and get stuck in Gen www. You can actually build a side effect to resubmit that, so you're not having to go in as an administrator and try to get those things through. You can really set up that job to do that. And a more recent feature is the ability to push documents from Oracle WebCenter content over to Oracle Content Experience Cloud by using Subscription Notifier. I touched on a few of these examples, but a lot of our customers use these really for policies and procedures. So if there are critical company policies that you have, policies and procedures that organizations have, and they need to be reviewed and edited, for example, quarterly, you can get a notification about that, review it, take action if necessary. And then once that gets checked in, then the notification can be sent to all employees that there's a new version of this, you should review it. So that's really taken advantage of the periodic reviews and notification capabilities. And then there's just other content. As you consider your organization, the various content authors and departments that are checking in content into the system, into WebCenter, and you just want to make them available, make it known that that content's available for their use or review. So Fishbowl has one of these scenarios in our organization where sales and marketing works very closely together to produce content, and based on the content that gets checked in, that content can be made available to stakeholders. Again, just letting them know that it's there. And so solving the business problem for that one is just that duplication of effort. If you're at least able to make people aware that certain content's available, someone else might, will not try to create it, kind of from whole cloth. They can know that it's already there, and they can, use that for the majority of what they need to create. And so it just saves on some time in that creation. So again, this is really being able to take advantage of some of those capabilities on the configuration side to just notify certain users of a particular group, in this case, sales and marketing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brent. Brent is going to give you a demo now of some of those capabilities. He's going to first show you really what's available out of the box. So assigning subscriptions based on criteria, based on when content gets updated. Also showing you just really how to self-subscribe to an item, and then taking those capabilities, what's available out of the box, and extending them with subscription notifier. Some of the capabilities there are attaching content to an email. He'll walk through that use case and show you some of that value there, as well as some of those powerful side effects. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brent.
So, as Jason said, the common scenario with companies is policies and procedures. Often, users check in a new policy, and while they might send out an email letting everybody know that it's there, after that initial announcement, users might not be notified when it just gets updated, and everybody might just be working on the old policy as they knew it. And so since it isn't always reliable to have the author notify everybody every single time something changes, what's needed is an automated process. And so out of the box, if you go to the repository manager and go to the subscriptions tab, you'll see where you can set up subscriptions. And really, this isn't the most intuitive setup, and I think that leads a lot of people to underutilize it. When you set up these subscription types, it seems like you're really setting up the subscription, but you're really just setting up a group of fields that a subscription could be, based on. So in our scenario, let's say we want to set something up so that all employees are notified when there is a policy update. So what I can do is come here and add this new subscription type. And as I mentioned, it's really, we're just creating what fields a subscription would be based on. And in this case, it's just the DDoc type. So I'm just gonna check that and click OK. So we have that, but there's not really a subscription there yet. And it doesn't make sense, but once you then click on the subscribers, you can then click add. And then this is where you more so set up the actual subscription. So in this case, I have this all employees alias that those are the people that are gonna be notified. So I want everybody to know this. And I want it to only happen for when the type is a policy procedure. So if I click OK and close out of that, I now have an actual subscription to notify all users. So if I were to do a quick search here, and I have this IT vision policy, I could go ahead and check in a new version. And because I'm in the all employees alias, I should see a notification that this has been updated. Now, it takes up to 5 minutes for the content server to evaluate all of the subscriptions, so it might take a little bit for me to see that email come through. But in the meantime, one thing you can also do is allow somebody to self-subscribe. Because we set up these types, somebody could self-subscribe to content items based on their type. So I have this company certifications document here, and the type is in my, it's a training type that is really just the system. So if I go to content actions and click subscribe, you can see that I could potentially subscribe to all items with that same type. So if I wanted to see what would happen if I subscribe to all training documents, I could go to subscription info and see what that looks like. So if I were to click the subscribe button, I could subscribe to all training documents, which would be nice if I want to stay up to date on all the different training manuals. It's also possible, based on what I had in the subscriptions, you can see I have a author type that's based on the author and security group. And because I set this up, a user could also decide to subscribe to something based on an author. So if you really want to follow somebody's work, you could allow that to happen. So the key here is that when you set up the subscriptions types, you're setting up what others can self-subscribe to. And it's an underutilized thing that the subscriptions tab is configured. Otherwise, out of the box, people really just can click the subscribe button. So in this case, if I just wanted to subscribe to company subscriptions, I can certainly do that too. And then if I do a checkout and check in, because I'm subscribed to that, I should eventually get an email for that too. Like I said, there is a possibly a 5-minute wait until the subscriptions are evaluated. So in the meantime, I will move on to our next scenario, which is to use Subscription Notifier to assist. So like I said, the out-of-the-box subscription capabilities are underutilized, but they are pretty basic. There isn't a whole lot you can do other than what I showed you. So in situations where we have a company policy and you want to make sure that everybody is aware of it, you might have company critical information you need to get out. We can use Subscription Notifier to help us, attach the document and possibly give a specific time to send out the notification. So I'm going to go ahead and display my Subscription Notifier subscription list. So you can see we have quite a large list here. I'm going to show you this one I created, which is just a procedures notification. And so this is going to send out notifications for any procedure where we specify a notification date. So in this case, if we look, I've got ignore schedule. If I uncheck that, we can actually specify when this would run. But I'm just gonna leave that checked so that it will basically run continuously. And so if we look at my subscription query, it's going to select everything with a policy, procedure, doc type, and where the notification date is in the past. So this means that once the notification date is reached, it will send out a message or notify users that this has been released. In addition, you'll see I have this attached content. So it's actually going to attach the documents right to the email, which will allow people to more quickly see the content, because if it's critical that everybody sees it, they're more likely to open an attachment and read it there rather than clicking on the link and logging in. So also in this case, I'm using an email template that allows me to specify a message. So in this case, I wrote something like, please review the attached updated procedure. I'm also using the iDoc script comments. So any comments that are supplied will also be, in the email as well. So they can get a little more details about what was updated. So I'm going to go ahead and show our office seating chart. We have this office seating chart, and in this scenario, let's say we are going to be rearranging the office a little bit. And in this case, I have my notification date down here, and we're just going to put that for today because we want to basically notify instantly, but this could allow for a delayed notification, when the time is right. I'm going to select our updated seating chart, and I'm also going to add some comments. In this case, we'll say that the marketing team, or the marketing department, has relocated to the east end of the building. I'm going to check that in. Now this subscription isn't enabled by default just because I don't want it to be running, but in most situations it would be regularly running because we are ignoring the schedule. But in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and manually run that. So in a little bit, I should get an email that indicates that the seating chart was, a new version was released. And hopefully I ran that after it was released. See if there's so if I look here, I got my notification that came through. We can see our messages here along with my comments. And normally you'd see the list of items that this is referring to, but in this case, I do want to see the new seating chart so I know where everybody's going to. So the next scenario I want to talk about is dealing with the side effects. For a given subscription, there's the option to do side effects. And in this case, I'm going to talk about the update metadata side effect. This basically allows you to update a metadata field for all matching content for that subscription. So in this scenario, let's say that I am going on leave and I need the ownership of all my documents to be reassigned to Jason. In this case, I can create a subscription that looks like this. I just named it Update Procedure Owner. It's going to select all procedures where I'm the owner. And in those cases, we're going to update that field to now be Jason, since he will be taking over for me. So if I go back to our office seating chart, you'll see that I'm the owner, and we want that to change to Jason. There could be hundreds of content items that I'm the owner of, and if something gets updated, I might we might need that owner field to notify somebody else when it goes through workflow. There might be some logic attached to that field, and so in this case, we want to be able to update 100 items at once and be done with it. So in this case, I can go ahead and just run that subscription. It's going to select all items where I am the owner of and update that to Jason. So if I come back to that item, since I was the owner of this is the office seating chart, and I hit refresh, you can see it's now Jason Lehman. So this is a huge time saver, as it would take a long time to individually update I'll do metadata updates on every single content item. And the last thing I want to point out as another subscription side effect is that I can come through, if we look at this subscription, I basically am querying all policies that have been expired for more than a year. One major problem with policies is that if you have outdated ones floating around, they can cause confusion, and old expired content still takes up disk space. So in this case, I can show you that we have a content item here, and I might have already deleted that. So the content item, I think I might have already ran this. So in this case, the subscription would select all of those items, and it looks like I must have already accidentally hit that one. So it deleted my content item that had been expired for over a year simply by using the delete revisions side effect. So that allows things to be cleaned up with very little effort. And with that, back to Jason.
All right, thanks, Brent, for that demo. So as we conclude today, again, want to thank everyone for attending. Again, the reason that we put this webinar together is we really wanted, I think, Brent's point about underutilization of some of those WebCenter capabilities, especially at a time where information is so critical and timely notifications are critical. WebCenter has some of those out-of-the-box capabilities to really, for the content you're creating, get it into the system and help employees stay informed, while really helping those content authors, your HR department, your communications teams, ensure that content, once checked in, it's getting distributed to the right people. With WebCenter, paired with Subscription Notifier, you can really do those things. Brent showed you specifically how you can take advantage of making sure people, based on a final check-in or a release, making sure that everyone gets notified about that release, in the example with the seating chart, so that when you come back to the office, you know where you're going to be sitting based on, social distancing or whatever policies you have in place. Other capabilities around proactive notifications. So over time, proactively notifying people, that could be periodically, again, on a schedule. So Brent showed you through the scheduler, the ability to go in and configure things like that. And then automation. So just some of that kind of that admin cleanup stuff that just occurs over time, where it just becomes painful for admins to go in and delete revisions of a certain date. So as this example showed, deleting content that was part of a version history and deleting content that was over a year old, as well as changing the author. So some of that those capabilities from Subscription Notifier on that side effects can really help automate some of that cleanup within WebCenter content management. Again, for more information on Subscription Notifier or any Fishbowl Solutions value add tools for WebCenter, you can find that information on our website and through social media. Again, I'll just mention that this webinar being recorded will be added to our WebCenter tips and tricks landing page, so you can find it there. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.